Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Nice to have you with me this morning. Thank you very much for joining me once again. This is Tuesday morning. What's today? The 14th of April, I think. What I do know is that this is day 26 in a row that we're doing this show. And I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for being on this journey with me. And I hope that you're getting a lot of value from this and that you feel like we're all in the same boat, as I always say, rowing in the same direction, sharing some thoughts and ideas, and that you really feel part of this community. That's very important to me, so that you feel like, I can interact with the people that are that's also watching with you, or not with you, they're watching with you. It's interesting times that we live in. But I sincerely hope that you're building new relationships or deepening existing relationships in this community, because that is very, very important from my point of view, so that we are able to be a group of people that can really take things forward, in time to come. So thank you very much for being here this morning. You obviously know what to do. So you need to say hi in the chat. Please say hi, say good morning, let people know that you're here, and interact with one another. Please engage. If somebody asks a question, you've got an answer or an opinion or a resource, please share that. It is this is really to help others. That should be sort of the focus, and the point from which you come is to help others. This is not about ourselves. This is about helping the community and helping others. So, and I always say, like, by helping others, we actually help ourselves. So let me hop on over quickly and say good morning. Let me just see what's happening here. Good morning, Raymond. Raymond says his internet is a bit unstable. Now, there's nothing to get one's day off on the wrong foot than having an unstable internet connection. So hopefully it'll come right, Raymond. You won't have too many issues. On my side, things are working great. So we are recording this as well. So if you want to watch it, and if you are watching the recording, welcome. Thank you very much for doing that as well. It means a lot to me, and I appreciate it. Then Neil Strydom, good morning. Welcome back, Neil. Nice to have you here once again. And Malcolm, Malcolm Hendricks. Thank you very much for joining me. Ian, welcome back. We missed you over the long weekend, but thank you very much for being back. Stephen, thanks. We had a nice chat yesterday. I think whenever we can have coffee again, I would love to ask you more questions about your journey and things that's happening or that's happened. Really an interesting story that you've got, and you shared a lot with me. And this was all based on the session that I did, where I said, well, where can we find inspiration? Where can we find ideas and things that we can maybe implement in our industry from businesses that are not in our industry? Like I used the coffee example and the barista course and things that I did. So we had a long discussion about everything that he went through, and also the coffee things that they did in America, etc. So it was quite an interesting conversation, and I really appreciate it, Stephen. Then Yaku, good morning, Yaku. Welcome. Let me hop on over quickly here to LinkedIn. Terence, good morning. He says, greetings, Francois, friends, mentors, and colleagues. Yes, that's a proper greeting. Good morning, Terence. Another sunny and positive good morning team from Kobusklein. Sunny Bunani, Slanganani, welcome back. You're also like, you are more than a regular. There are people that are leveling up from being regular to being really like here every single day, and I truly appreciate it. I know it's not always possible to be here every single day or even to stay for the entire session, but whatever time you spend with me, thank you very much for that. Good morning, Salome. Nice to have you back. Zeti, welcome. I think this is your second or third one. Good morning. Frans Hatten, good morning, Frans. Welcome back. Peter Strydom, once again, good morning. Amanda, welcome back. Nice to have you here. I had a great long weekend. I hope everybody else as well. Amanda says that she hope you had a good one. Good morning, Francis. Welcome back. Jen Mackay, Antini, Jen Mackay, welcome. Ronnie Els, welcome back. Neil Phillips, nice to have you here once again. Renee and Surieta as well. Again, a lot of regulars in the house. I think now that it's raining in Cape Town, I don't know today, but I think it's it's a bit different. So I don't know. But let's see. Today I have a very interesting topic, something that I've been sort of mulling over in my head, whether I want to talk about this during one of these sessions. It's been on the list since day one. You obviously see that. I mean, if we're on day 26, that I've really postponed talking about this. It's something that I've thought about a lot over the last number of months, since the end of last year already. It's something that I've read up about a lot, and to try and understand where are we headed, or where do we think, because we don't really know. Yeah, but if you can predict, I mean, you can at least take a shot and say something, right? I think that is maybe the important part, to say that, let's at least look at it, what it might look like, and how will we position ourselves if that is the case. And it's not to say that my view is the only view. Obviously, there may be a lot of other views, specifically coming from all of you. So today is one of those days where I really want you to weigh in the chat and the comments. Have a chat, share with us. Good morning, Johan Westhuizen. Welcome to you as well. Just to sort of share, what are your thoughts? Where do you see things are going? And it also, one thing that I've learned over the last number of years is that it truly depends on where you are in your journey. So if you are 75 and looking to work for another 5 years or 3 years, or you're actually already in the process of maybe selling your practice, you won't necessarily worry about what's going to happen 10 years from now. But for somebody who's maybe considering to start, or somebody who started recently, or somebody who's midway in their career and the business that they've been building, where are we going? Because we can sit there and do nothing, and you'll just overnight become irrelevant. Or maybe you'll find that, like, where did everybody else go? So that's important that we really start to think about the future and just to sort of consider where things will happen. Now, it is going to take some time to get there. Things don't just happen overnight. So it's part of that journey. But if we're not on the right journey, if we headed in that direction and everybody else is going in this direction, if I say everybody else, I'm particularly referring to clients, what they want and what they want to focus on and what they need. And you still here, banging the drum about how we did things in the early 2000s and sort of in 2020, for example, then you may very soon find yourself with a very small group of clients and not being viable going forward. So today is definitely not about, creating fear or anxiety or anything like that. This is, let's dream. Let's see where things may go in the future. Then also just please remember to subscribe to the channel on YouTube. We're really growing nicely. Please, if you find value, please consider subscribing. You'll just, just below the video, if you're watching this on YouTube, there will be a subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, the button won't be there, but there should be a red button saying subscribe. The same if you're on the mobile app. Underneath my name, below the video, there's always a red subscribe call to action. You can do that. You can just click on it and that's it. What will happen is that you can also then click the notification bell so that when we go live, you get notification. When we publish new videos, you get a notification via email. And it's not a long thing. It'll always just say, oh, Frans just published a video. Boom, go check it out. So just if you want to stay up to date, and you can then definitely do that. And then lastly, please remember to like and react to this video, particularly on LinkedIn as well, where you can react and do different kind of things. If you enjoy this, if you find it insightful or it makes you curious or whatever, then please choose that. You can do that on mobile as well as on the desktop app. Or then obviously over on LinkedIn, just hit that like button. It helps us to get out there and for LinkedIn and other people to know about what we are doing. And important, please share this content with other people. Tell them that we're doing this every single day. That'll help me tremendously from that point of view. But as I said before in a few episodes, please tell the right people, so the people that will add to the conversation, not take away from the conversation. I'm very particular about that. So I really want a group of people who wants to put their heads together and move forward. And we really want to fight whatever comes our way, whatever is coming our way. So yeah, that's really what that is about. Then I just want to give a quick shout out to Chart van der Walt. Chart is not here today, unfortunately, but today is Chart's birthday. So Chart, happy birthday. I hope you're having a good one. And yeah, just thanks for the support. I really appreciate it. I think for his birthday, he bought himself the tax tool. So thank you very much for that, Chart. I appreciate the support. And then one last thing before I get going that I just need to make you aware of is that last week Friday, actually, we released the latest podcast episode. I spoke to Hugo van Zyl. Hugo van Zyl is an expat tax expert, or just a tax expert in general. He's been helping people migrate from a tax point of view since 2000, I think, if I remember correctly. I had him on episode 16, and it was a great one. It was an hour and a half. We answered a lot of questions from people, but we also spoke about very specific things as well. And now I did a follow-up interview with him because obviously now Section 10102, those changes are now in effect. And although it was implemented in law like 2 years ago, it's now in effect. So we are now in it. Now people are going to start to pay. And I chat to him about how did things change? What are the things that they're now realizing? What about people that have to come back now because of this COVID-19 situation that we've got? So they never intended to come back, and maybe they financially immigrated, formally, and now they come back to South Africa because they can't stay where they are, for example. So we speak about things like that. Then a few other things where people have immigrated, then they inherit things, from somebody in South Africa, and everything is situated here. How does that influence their situation? So there's so many moving parts. And the best thing about this interview is that it was done in plain language for everybody to understand, because that's what I try and do. Everything we do is plain language based. So yeah, it was really a fantastic interview, I think. So please go check it out. There's the website address on the screen. So you can go to propulsion.co.za/EP21 for episode 21. It'll take you straight there. Or just if you're using Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever it is you're using to listen to podcasts, just go search for Propulsion and you'll find us there. So please go check that out. It's really, really a fantastic episode with him. All right. So cool. So now we can get into this whole session that I want to talk about. Good morning, Bongi. Welcome. Nice to have you here once again. I appreciate it. And yeah, let me see. All right. Boom, boom, boom. So obviously when we talk about the future of financial planning, and you saw that the thumbnail said, where are we headed? I don't know. This morning I was thinking I should have gotten like a crystal ball in my hand with a light coming out of it and everything shining on my face. But I thought about that idea too late. So now it's just me, pointing like, where are we headed? I don't know. Okay. But I've got some thoughts and I've got some opinions about this. And as I said, please feel welcome to join us in the chat and to share your views as well. And where you think things are headed. So the first two I'm going to talk about is nothing new. I don't think that there's anybody that don't think that this is going to be a thing, but maybe the intensity of where it's going and how deep it will get ingrained into where things are headed, that's maybe more what I want to focus on, and we'll take it from there. So the first one obviously is digitization. If you couldn't guess that, then have more coffee. That helps. But digitization is definitely on the rise. And particularly now, I think this whole situation that we're finding ourselves in terms of COVID-19 is now just accelerating that, particularly from a South African point of view. And maybe on that point is that I'm not only looking at this from a South African point of view, I'm considering South Africa, but I'm also looking at what's happening globally. Because if we think that we're still in those days where it happens over there, it doesn't happen here. It happens over there, it doesn't happen here. Or it happens there, but it will take a long time for it to happen over here. I'm telling you, things have changed. Now with COVID-19 and everybody, adopting tech, and it's interesting to see how people start consuming a lot of online content. Albeit it's more for getting information around, what's going on with COVID-19, having updates on the pandemic and that. But still, they are getting used to consuming online content. So people that traditionally buy a newspaper at the Stop Street on a Sunday will probably not do that anymore in future. I think the newspapers themselves are realizing that, we can still distribute online, but if we do it just paper-based, we're screwed. And obviously, they would have moved on, and everybody's got their online versions of this. But I think they are going to go, and there will be a huge uptick in the number of people that are using these services. And also, there will be a paid model for it. This notion that news needs to be free online if it is proper news, it's not fake news, there will be a paid model for it. But it can be a lot more, I think, cost-effective because it is online. And I think you can get a lot more value. And you can also have real-time news, obviously, happening as things come out. So I think in terms of that, it's going to change a lot. But that means the same thing for us. If you look at information, and this notion about information wants to be free, but it wants to be expensive, that kind of thing. So I think the access to information, how to obtain information from clients, all of those kind of things are going to become more and more digitized, and there will be processes and things of how we can do this, and also aggregate information from different sources, which is already happening. If you use any kind of budgeting app like 22/7, I think, can't remember some of the others, but there are other ones as well that uses technology where you put in all your information and it pulls the data every single day. Even accounting software, if you link your bank to that every day, it goes and fetches your data and pulls it into the accounting system automatically. So that's going to happen more and more and more. And the more people see how convenient that is, the more they're going to approve and allow that to happen, because ultimately you own your data. Whether you look at POPI or GDPR or whatever legislation there is to protect privacy, it's still yours, and it's still yours to give away. And I think if it's going to make your life easier and it's going to make your life more convenient, then there are certain things that you're going to offer to be available to financial planners or other institutions or whatever that may be. The other big thing about information is that I think more and more clients will, and it's already happening. I'm just saying, so in terms of digitization, I think the scale at which it's going to happen is going to increase exponentially, and there's going to be access to real-time information. So not this thing about, it's once a month, it'll be up to the second, updated and relevant information that they've got access to. And client portals are going to be the thing. And I spoke about that the other day when we did speak about technology, and that, some of the systems that you're already using, maybe you don't know it, the Xplans, the AdWorks, the Elite Wells, etc., Avalon, they have client portals already where you can give access to your client to some of their data, and you can control to some degree about what they can do and what they can and can't see, etc. But those things are going to become more and more sophisticated, and you will have to offer that kind of functionality to your clients because they will get used to it from other industries. And if we don't offer them that, it's going to be a problem. Now, luckily, you don't have to go out and develop your own client portal, which you could do if you wanted to. I think bigger businesses would want to do that. But the smaller ones may just, white label something that it looks like yours, but it's actually provided by AdWork or an Xplan or whatever that may be. So that's very important. And then another thing that's going to happen, and I actually wanted to play you a clip, but I couldn't find it. When I talk about automation, we also spoke about that the other day. In terms of digitization, automation is going to do a lot of, there's going to be a lot of that, but in terms of repetitive tasks and even time consuming tasks, but that are repetitive in nature. So things that are easy to automate. That's definitely going to become a thing. There was it's called Ben. So it's an artificial intelligence assistant. All right, that it's already in existence. It was developed by a financial planning practice in the States, and they use that to make review appointments and do things like that, where clients don't even know it's a computer phoning them. You've seen on Google, everybody's seen that Google at the conference last year where they had the Google Assistant also called to make a hair appointment and things like that. So these things are reality, but there's already a business in the States, a financial planning practice that has developed an artificial intelligence assistant that can make these repetitive tasks. So it still feels like human interaction, but they make these appointments. I think there's more and more of those things that's going to happen. And the amazing thing is how Ben learns as things progress and as things happen. Then also meetings, definitely going to be a lot more online meetings. It's interesting, you look at some of the statistics that's around. There's sort of two that I want to refer to. There was one done in the States as well, where it says that only 9% of clients are being seen via virtual meetings. That was now before the crisis. In South Africa, it's I know that Link Tank and Kate Holmes did a survey together, and one of the questions they were asking is, are you going back to the way you did business before? And the large percentage of those people say yes. I think that you need to reconsider that position possibly. I definitely think 9% is a very low percentage to be doing virtual meetings. I think it's going to be a lot more, between 30 and 50 maybe. And over time, it'll be up to 70%. You will still have to do face-to-face meetings. There's still a need for that. There's still a lot of value in that, particularly for first-time meetings and making sure that you want to work together. But there's also a large portion of the population who may be very comfortable meeting you like this for the first time even. So we need to start thinking about the client and have different options for what will suit that client and what they prefer. Their preferences should dictate, how we go about. But I foresee that these kind of meetings are going to increase. And there's another thing that I want to talk about, and I won't have time this week because the rest of the week we've got guests. But on Saturday, there's maybe two things. Well, I'll either do the WhatsApp sort of tutorial kind of thing where I'll show you how to use WhatsApp and do that, but particularly for marketing purposes, or I will be doing talking about the dangers of these online meetings and things that, and not from a security point of view, just from how you can quickly get yourself into a corner where you don't have time to do other things. So I want to talk about that as well. That's something that's come up recently and that I've started to realize. So we definitely need to talk about that. But anyway, so meetings are definitely going to go digital. And then also implementation, where products are going to be implemented. If you think about Hippo for short term, that's been around for a long time, you know, there's already similar things for certain life products, but I think that's just going to grow. And at the end of the day, the client is going to go directly and find out which products they want. So if your value proposition is around selecting the best product, there are systems that can do that better than you can, and that can compare more products than what you can, and that I can, that anyone can, you know. And obviously a lot of people will say, but, you know, but there's no common sense involved. There's no, you can't put context to it. It just works on data, and which is true. But if you've got lots of data, you know, then it can become very, very predictable about which product will be best for you. So I'm just saying, I think digitization is gonna move over quite a lot. And then also, I don't know if it'll ever get to the point where you get real advice and advice outside of money, you know, because if you think about robo-advisors, I see a lot of people are saying, I wonder how many robo-advisors are calling their clients right now in these difficult times to keep them calm and not let them disinvest, etc. So, you know, I don't know. So I put a question mark behind advice. All right. So let me just quickly see. There's obviously lots I want to talk about, so I don't want to spend too much time. So let's just see quickly if there's anything. Good morning, Kirsty. Is it sunny in Cape Town today? That's fantastic. VCF or CVF? It's virtual coffee with Francois, if that's what you're referring to. So that's VCF. That podcast was great, very technical, and shows the critical importance of getting professional advice and many factors to consider. Yeah, I don't think it was that technical, Terence. It's interesting. I would like to chat to you about that and see how you experience that. Xplan just launched functionality where clients can OK forms without wet signatures. Not sure which companies will accept this. I'm trialing this today. That's great, Neil. It will be great to get some feedback, because that has been the problem, you know, where there's so many technologies available, but you still have insurance companies saying, no, we're not going to accept this, you know. And I don't know if it's because they want to drive their own version of it. And again, you know, this is just like typically how we go about things. And I'm just now putting things out there. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong. It doesn't really matter as well. But a lot of these companies were like, we want to do our own thing. We want to brand our own thing. Let's just get something that works and that everybody, there's a standard for the industry that is accepted. Get together, decide on technology and implement that and make it easy for everybody to use. Because we teach the advisors one thing to use. We teach clients one thing to use. It's simple. Anyway, so I'm keen to hear that from that. Good morning, Werner. Nice to have you here as well. Thanks for joining us. Should we list the options on your website? Should we list the options on your website and profile saying we offer a virtual offering and a face-to-face offering? I think so, Terence, because this is about allowing clients. Just think about this. If you deal with any other business or even with insurers, etc., you can email them, you can social media them, you can phone them, you can visit them. It's your choice. But they will make, if you look at their contact pages, they will tell you how can you get hold of us. You can fill in a form on the website. So you should do the same thing to say, listen, you know, we know that your time is valuable, but we also know that you have your own preferences, and therefore these are the options that we have. If you would like to meet with us, let us know which one suits you best, and we can set up a meeting. So I definitely feel that you should do that. It would be cool to hear other people's ideas around that as well. Okay, Titi says it means the subject matter, not the. Yes, the subject matter is absolutely technical. If you think about it, that's definitely so. Jane says the survey is still open. So it's the same trend, more or less. So 10% of advisors say they're going back to the way things were. 68% say they'll definitely be having more online meetings in future. Okay, so now we just need to see if that'll happen, but at least we are open to the idea, which is important. Great stuff. Thanks, Jane. Then obviously, the second one is a move away from product. I think it's already happening. Again, nothing new. The focus is a lot of advisors to stop focusing on products. And I have my view around products, because what's busy happening to product is that it's becoming very commoditized. It doesn't matter how many bells or whistles you've got, or, you know, sort of the latest and greatest, and we cover this and you don't cover that. Ultimately, these, and we've said this for years, it's not a new thing, is that, I don't know if you feel the same way, but products are pretty much the same across the board. So, yeah, I just think that there's a huge disconnect between, if you look at what you really do on a daily basis, and there are advisors that obviously their whole value proposition is built around choosing the best product for you, or the most suited product for you. And for them, it's different. But for everybody else who's actually doing other stuff, who's delivering other services and advice and coaching and guidance and whatever you're doing, understanding and helping people to focus on the outcomes and to see how they use the money to get to those outcomes, and that's a different conversation. It's a different service. It's a different skill set. Everything is different from choosing the right product. You know, so there's definitely going to be, at the moment, there's already a disconnect between that and implementing products. Because at the moment, it's like we're giving this away for free, and then we have to implement the product in order to get paid for the real value that we were adding. And I'll talk about that, you know, as we go through. Clients are going to purchase these products directly, because if they get the right advice and they know what they need, now they can go and look for things easily by typing in what they want into a system. The system will show them these are your top 3 or top 5 or top 10 options. Choose one, and then they do the implementation themselves, you know, virtually. So I don't think that we're going to play a big role going forward in terms of implementation of products. And if I say going forward, it doesn't mean from tomorrow or after COVID. It's going to be soon, you know, in the next 5 years, definitely in the next 10 years or so. So one would really need to think about that. Also, the other thing is that clients are going to manage their own things. You already see this where people are buying their own ETFs. I think if you look at the robo-advice market, you know, and I know that I don't think that they had the pickup that they attracted the kind of clients that they thought that they were going to do, or the numbers of clients that they were going to do. But they are managing more money than human advisors at the moment, you know. So robo-advisors are successful, but I think there's going to be a very nice balance between where we can, like, you know, use robo-advice to serve a previously underserved market, people who's getting going with investing, people who you can't really charge them fees and be profitable from that, for example. So those are some things that we need to consider and say, how can I use this technology, not robo-advice per se, but how can I use that technology to serve a particular market where I can grow that market? Because, you know, we spoke about this before, about potential. You know, you may want to form that relationship, but then the servicing needs to happen through either a self-help or some form of automation, etc., to make it profitable. A lot of people think about it maybe as a loss leader, where you would just say, oh, I'm not going to make money for the next 10 years, but after that, I'll make money. You know, but I think if you're clever, you can really make money now already, even though it'll be a lot less, but it's better than losing money, or just call it then investing money into that by using this technology. But people are going to go on and implement their own products. They're going to manage their own investments, their own portfolios. And if I say managing, it's not really that they manage it, but they're going to look at it and they're going to decide when I'm going to invest more and what product I'm going to put it in, etc., etc. And particularly as these things become more available via your mobile devices and things, it's just easy to do from that point of view. So I think there's going to be a complete move away from product. All right, so before I get into the next one, YouTube is very quiet in terms of comments, so you're welcome to share your views. Ray says, preach. I'm trying my best, Ray. Terence, we do offer various options for annual reviews and new meetings, where am I now? Sorry. Reviews and new meetings. Even this afternoon, have an F&A session from an introduction. So that's great, Quibus. Neil, via Zoom. In Canada, the UK, and Australia, product suitability is a big thing. And very penal regulations are being imposed on their respective industries. We'll probably be hit with something similar. So that needs to be kept in mind. I'm actually going to talk about that, Peter, yeah, because even in our case, it was also said that you need to give appropriate advice and make sure that the product is suitable. So I definitely agree. But also if we move away from product, because if you look at phase, phase and the code of conduct, it's product focused. It's not advice focused. It is not financial planning focused at all. It is absolutely product focused. It's all about product advice and product services. That's what it's regulating. It's not regulating advice from a financial planning standpoint. So yeah, but we'll get into that as we go through. Alrighty, then just quickly, I just want to mention to you that we are going to have on Wednesday, so tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, I've got a guest on, which I'll talk about in a second. But then at 11 o'clock, we're going to be doing a session, myself, and then I'll have Ida Sonicus on. Ida is my partner in the accountables business, the accounting business and tax business. So she's done a lot of research on all the relief measures that are available for business owners in South Africa in terms of COVID-19. And we'll also have Sunette Brits on, who's focusing on this. She's a labor law specialist. And so we're going to bring all of these things together. But you'll see, I say this is the plain language edition. So I want to urge you to attend this tomorrow. I'm going to send out the things on LinkedIn and email and everything today. So if you want to be on the email list, just go to francois.toy.co.za/sign up. It's just my normal newsletter, but I'm going to send it out via that. Otherwise, just keep an eye out on LinkedIn. I'm definitely going to post it in the next hour after the session. And then, there will be free registration so that you can view this. So it's not going to be live. It's going to be live, but not live on YouTube and LinkedIn. Just before I started, I decided I'm going to change that. We're going to do it via Zoom webinar. So I will send all of that stuff out. But you can have a look. Come and listen to what we've got to say. We want to explain it in plain language, what's happening, what are the things you need to consider. So it's not only for you to know for your clients, but please send it on to your clients. Let them, if they've got businesses and they are worried and they don't know what their options are, please send it on to them so that they can also attend. So this will happen tomorrow morning. That's Wednesday the 15th at 11 a.m. So that'll be great. All right, let's move forward. We are halfway, and I've got lots to share with you. Then there's going to be, in my mind, a huge change in distribution models, and this is something that I've spoken about a lot to several people, saying that, listen, you need to understand that your job, particularly in what you're doing currently in the distribution chain, is going to fall away. And this is not the financial advisor part. This is more the other people that are servicing you. They need to be looking at what's going to happen, when the things that I think is going to happen is going to come into being. And I think, first of all, the intermediated model is going to fall away. So that you won't have contracts with all the service providers anymore, because your whole value proposition is going to change in future. Some people will still hang on to this model, but I think it'll become so small at the end, and whether that's taking 15 or 20 or 50 years doesn't matter. I think that the intermediated model is going to fall away because we are outgrowing our value offering of choosing the best product. We are evolving into a new profession. We're evolving into somebody who really makes a difference on a high level in a client's life. And as more and more of that is going to happen, and I'll talk about major shifts just now, but there's going to be a change in the way that we do things. So that's my view in terms of that. Definitely distribution. And if I talk about distribution, it's product focus. So what the insurance companies are going to offer, how are they going to sell their products, etc. How are they going to get it to market? That'll move to direct via online portals or websites, online transactions, and then also by having still tied salespeople. So they're going to have financial advisors. They will have tied salespeople because you will be giving the advice, and then somebody needs someone to just maybe confirm that this is the right product for you, and they will sell them the product. So that will still happen, but they will be definitely tied. I don't think you'll find many independent product salesmen out there in future. And as I said, also then digital distribution is definitely something that's going to happen. And that's just, I think that it's been going that way for some time. If you look at the number of broker consultants that are being employed by companies, that has gone down drastically. The benefits they get have gone down drastically. The way they get paid have gone, because it's a huge expense, and I don't think it adds that much value anymore, particularly because a lot of advisors have already started moving away from product. Having the best product is not enough anymore for you to get the business. So in the terms of that, they're going to have to make a plan. because I know that in many instances, I don't know all the companies, but I know that most of the companies, I think the bulk of their business is coming from IFA. It's not necessarily, but some of them have started growing their sales force quite aggressively. So that may have changed now in recent times. But that's really, I think, what's happening and what's going to happen. So yeah, from that point of view, definitely a change in distribution models. Then this is a big one for me. And I think now we get more into the things that I see where it's going. The other things is already happening. It's just sort of to what degree is it going to happen? That was sort of my opinion. But this is a big one. I think that, women in financial planning is going to be huge. I've had the privilege of working with a number of women that are advisors. I've worked with women who were in key positions in corporates. And you can see the difference that they make. And I'm telling you today that, in my opinion, women are just naturally a lot more empathetic than men are. So I think they will connect easier with clients. And the more that happens, and even, what tends to happen, and this is the funny thing, is that when you have women advisors or women financial planners, they start to focus on women clients, on female clients. And I understand, there's a myriad of reasons why they do that. Because particularly, usually, the focus is on the man of the household. So yes, maybe the wife is part of the conversation, but she has a little bit of say. And usually, I think the main conversation takes place after the meeting between the husband and the wife. But that's what's happening. So now there's a feeling that nobody's looking after the wife's interest. What if they get divorced? What if he dies? What if this? What if that? She needs to do her own planning. And also, women have got a completely different view of money. I think the level of importance that I put on money is different than the level of importance that men maybe put on that, where we would focus maybe more, and I'm just now in generalizing, but we may focus more on the money side of things, and we need to do so much income, and we don't need this and that, where they are focused more on, but what does this enable us to do? What are the things that we can do if we have this money? So I think they connect easier with those kind of things. They see the bigger picture maybe. They have a lot more feeling and emotion that goes into it. Men is a lot more like, more facts and figures kind of situation. So by bringing that female intuition into this whole thing as well, I think they are going to take over our industry, in future. And there are lots of them coming in. If I go to FISA's meetings, you go to the FBI convention, those kind of things, and you see the number of women that are attending these things. It's amazing to see. And I really think that this is going to be a big drive and a big change in our industry. It's not to say that men are going to, we're not going to do this anymore. No, women will be added to the mix. So there will be more of us doing financial planning, but there will be a bigger spread between men and women, whereas currently it's very male dominated from that point. I just think, and I don't know if it's the motherly thing. I don't always want to bring it back to because they are mothers, etc., because we are fathers, it's just the case. I don't know. I've always felt, and if you look at my business, the people that I work with, there's one other male. The rest of them are all female. And it's just because they bring a different perspective and a different level of care and caring and really being able to put themselves in other people's shoes. They tend to think about things that I usually go with my wife, like, where do you now come up with that? And it's just like, it makes me think. It's like, I never even considered that. So I don't know. They also fill in the blind spots and stuff. And I think people relate to females just easier to women in general. So from that point, I think, women is really gonna, I don't want to say flood, but we're definitely going to have a lot of women coming into the financial planning space, and it's going to be great for us. They also tend to raise the bar. I always say, like any man, they say, well, it's the woman behind the man that makes the man at the end of the day. But it's true. A good woman will raise a man. A not so good woman can break a man as well. But it just shows you the power that they've got, to just take things to the next level. Anyway, so that's my opinion and my view. It'll be cool to hear what the rest of you have got to say about that. But yeah, we'll see what happens, and if my prediction is correct. Johan Westhuizen says FBI USA did research on women in the financial planning industry. I think that we are going to see a 50-50 ratio of women and men in the industry in 10 years. Great stuff. And then Almo, indeed, separate advice planning from product comparison sales, but I think there are opportunities in the latter. Ideally, never do both. You can have both in the same business group, but not one person. Yes, you should separate that. Almost like we spoke about separating, the whole fee conversation from the person delivering the advice the other day. Thanks, Almo. Nice to have you here, by the way, Almo. Thanks for joining us. Really nice to see you here. All right. So here we go. Sure, there's lots of comments. I like it. Thank you very much. Slanganani says, the sooner we get to adapt to what our clients are already used to, the better. Clients are already using technology with many other services. And that's the thing. We're either going to stay behind or we can play the game. Phase governs products. It may be because the beginning, the regulator did not involve advisors in their discussion about the industry. No, I think, well, yes, but I think it's also because of the mis-selling of products. The issue was that people were sold stuff that they were not supposed to be sold. So it was not about the advice. It was all about the product sales and being sold. And that's where TCF comes from as well. If you look at the whole drive between TCF, again, looking at the right product for the right target market, and that you are putting the client first, kind of thing. But yeah, it's definitely, I think, a big thing. Let me see. Vessel, welcome, Vessel. He says, hi, Frans, and all other friends and colleagues. I think we are sometimes making virtual planning too difficult. We're thinking too far ahead. I'm already doing estate planning without meeting the client once in person. So I know others do. This lockdown period will force all of us to learn new skills, and it's wonderful. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, cool beans. Let me see. Johan Forster says a man is not a plan, famously said by the head of Momentum. Cool. A man is not a plan. Definitely not. Alrighty. So let me just say, Jen says, from your vantage point, are you seeing significantly more women entering the industry? I think I answered that, Jen. Sorry, I didn't see your comment. Currently, I mean. So already, as I said, when you go to events and you look at the number of women that's there, absolutely, I definitely think so. And in all areas, if you look at your business, I mean, that's almost a female-only business. Very few males in that business. So that's in the tech space. You look at financial planning, the same thing. And again, you go to FISA and you see the number of females that are there. Well, in our region anyway. So you look at the number of people that are, of females that are there. I mean, that's in the state administration. It's when you need care the most. It's when you need empathy the most. It's when you need understanding the most. And those are overrun by females. And I think that just drives my point even further. So Kobus is saying the power of women financial professionals we can see clearly within MDRT countries and chiefly Eastern countries. With over 70,000 members, the ratio has grown to 48% females to 52% male, and no doubt will surpass this very soon. It's a niche market for sure and a considerable need. Absolutely. Great stuff. Thank you for that feedback, Kobus. Very valuable. All right, then quickly, before I move on to my next point here, just to remind you, so my guest tomorrow is Wessel. So Wessel is here today. That's fantastic. But Wessel is my guest today, and we're going to talk about your reason for being, my reason for being, just where are we going? What is getting us up in the morning? What is that thing that's going to really create true happiness for you? What are all the things that need to come together? And yeah, there's more that I'll share in the description when we send out the links and everything for this later today. But really looking forward to this. And I did some of these things yesterday to try and figure out, from my own point of view. And it's not easy. I'll be honest with you. It's quite a mission if you really need to dig deep in yourself and to understand these things. But it's a fantastic framework and a fantastic concept. So I'm really looking forward to it. To have Wessel on tomorrow. So don't forget that tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. on the 15th of April. And then after that, we'll have the SME stuff. All right. Awesomeness. Then some major shifts that I see that's definitely, I think, starting to happen. And maybe in some areas it's happened more. But I think there's going to be these major things. And the biggest shift that's happening is what is seen as value. That is going to be the biggest shift that we're going to see. What do clients really find valuable? Because for too long we focused on, oh, you need a life policy, oh, you need an education plan, oh, you need investments, oh, you need to provide for retirement. Yeah, it's all important. I get it. But the value we offer is going to be the focus. And clients are going to judge us by the value that we add. They're going to judge us by the value that we offer. They will judge us by the difference that it makes in their lives. That's what we're going to get judged by. And then with that goes the pricing, because now they will pay in relation to that value that they're getting. And this is not new, guys. This is like since business have been invented centuries ago, it has always been about that. It's about, even when we were bartering, it was like an egg for, we won't swap one egg for a steak because the steak was more valuable. You may have to swap 100 eggs to get one steak, for example. I don't know why I'm coming up with that example, but you get what I'm saying. So from that point of view, it's like, and people are going to move away, because I think there's one huge mistake that we're making. And I've also spoken about this now for quite some time. And I don't usually do it in open forums in public. But when I have discussions with groups of people, I always bring this up. Well, not always, but when the conversation obviously leads to that, is that I've always been of the opinion that the AUM model is not sustainable. The AUM model is not fair towards clients. I always said that if I were ever to start a practice, I will have a very particular strategy against that, to be honest. And obviously, a lot of people may now go like, what are you on about? This is what I'm building my business on, because I want recurring revenue and predictability, and But here's the thing, and when my mind started changing was about 4 years ago, when I spoke to clients and we would do their reviews and things, and then you would show them, this is what's happening. Or just what happens is once a year, the product provider sends them a statement. So whatever you give them during the year, at some point in time, they're getting a statement that shows all of their fees. And here's the thing. So when we did when you implement this investment and you do all the advice, you say, oh, we charge 0.75% plus VAT. Okay. So 0.75% sounds like absolutely nothing until you charge it on R1 million or on 10 million Rand or on 20 million Rand. And then you look at the Rand amount, and you would think that it's only on bigger amounts. Remember, people will look at who have small investments. Let's say they only have 700,000. And they would see that, listen, I paid, let's just call it 30,000 Rand in fees over the last 2 years or 3 years, whatever it is. The first question that they ask is, but what did I get for that? And remember, that statement breaks it down between the list provider, for example, your advice fees. And the one thing it does not show is the investment management fees from the asset manager themselves, because that's built into the pricing. So you can't see that, which is fortunate. But people are starting to look at the Rand amount. And even smaller investments, they think, but that's my money. And what did I get for? Why is X company charging me 30,000 Rand over 3 years just to have this investment with them, for example? The advice fee, hopefully, and luckily, in most cases, we can justify that, because we can say, this is what we do. We do this. You send us stuff. We do it. Because in our country, we tend to do an all-in AUM fee. So it's like, you pay me 0.75 or 1%, and I will do everything for you. No, don't worry. You just send us your whatever, and we will do it. We won't charge you separately for it. But the problem that we're really having here is that, if you do that, and I've spoken about in other things before, well, you need to look at it from there's what you do and what people want, and then how you get paid for it. Okay. And if there's a disconnect between these two, like for instance, the high value sits in the services that you offer. It's the advice you give, the guidance you give, the coaching you do, the decision making you help them with, the keeping them from making mistakes, sort of identifying certain biases that they may have, and that causes them to do things that's going to hurt them long term, and sort of keep them from doing that. I mean, that's the real value. But then we want to charge a percentage of assets under management on a thing that has become a commodity, really, if you think about it. Because what happens is that, you have your investment. Maybe you have a discretionary or a what do you call it? I can't remember the word now, but like a managed portfolio, your own kind of portfolio. So through a DFM, model portfolios, that kind of thing. Everybody else do the work, so you want to charge for assets under management, but it doesn't relate to the value that you create here. And there's two ways that this can go. So either you can be overcharging completely on the assets under management, or you are undercharging completely. So this isn't only from what is fair to the client's point of view, it's always also what is fair to your point of view. So you can't charge on one thing that is really becoming like you can go do it yourself and choose things yourself and just drive down costs if you want to go passive, etc. So that kind of thing versus all of these things that you are doing. There's no direct correlation. There's no way that you can say that, oh, so Francois paid me 30,000, but Johan is paying me 60,000 for the same thing, and then Joan is paying me 100,000 for the same thing because they've got different levels of investment with me. It doesn't make sense to me at all, and that is something that we need to think about and discuss more. And I know maybe I'm intruding now on sensitive sort of ground at the moment, but it's things that we need to consider and that we need to think about does what we charge and how we get paid, can there be a direct link between what we really do for clients from that point of view? And then the other big change is going to be, and it's already happened, I've written about this in 2013, I think, where I said, what is the difference between a broker, advisor, and a planner? And there's this move from broker to advisor to planner and now to life guide in my sense, in my mind. You look at things like transitionist planners, you look at coaches, you look at all these different things where we now more treading on the let's understand the person instead of understanding the technical financial planning kind of stuff. So there's a new, as I say, we're moving into a completely new era and a completely new offering, and this is what's going to propel us into being professional, really seen as a profession going forward. And it's important, we need to be working on those skills now already. And there are a number of people, if you look in South Africa, there are a number of people who's been doing things differently and learning different things and studying overseas and learning new ways of dealing with clients. So that part is going to be extremely important. All right, let me just see. Yep. Vessel says, thank you, Francois, and thank you for bringing us all together to share thoughts and ideas that will help us as a community. It's a pleasure, Vessel. Thank you for being part of it. Peter Stradom, another major shift at industry level is the move from a product-driven environment to an advice-based industry. This shift and the implications, yes, I agree, because I spoke about it. Morning, Carol. Welcome. Nice to have you here. Thank you for joining us. There should be a separation between the product houses and the advisor. Product houses do well with designing products with all the bells and whistles. Advisors should not be defined by how well they can explain products. Our focus needs to be on advice. An RA is an RA. Product houses should differentiate their product in a fact sheet. Advisors seem to be put out there to explain products and give free advice. Yes. Where are we now? Everybody agrees with you, Carol. Many advisors give free advice and only get paid if the client buys a product. Compare this with a doctor's practice. Yeah, I agree. Jen, yes, I'm definitely seeing more and more of the life coach approach out there. Yes, absolutely. Yvonne, nice to see you here. Thank you for joining us. The professional nature of providing a service is that one should charge a fee for service to really demonstrate the value added. Yes, and then you know that you're adding value because people are willing to pay for it. Now, you're not going to flip a switch and make that move overnight. Definitely not. There's a lot of people that are for this, a lot of people that are still against this. It doesn't matter. You got to do what works for you in your business and also that works for your clients, because it's a lot easier changing for new clients than it is changing for existing clients. Convincing, if you've been working for 15 years with a group of clients and they know how you work and how they pay you for it, etc., it's going to be very hard to change your model with them. But you can decide, when you start introducing new services, to say, well, we're adding this, but now we're charging for this. So this is a new service. So you're not changing from what you've been doing, getting paid, let's say, commission for that, and then go, now I want to charge a fee for it. That's not the change. You introduce new services on top, and that you charge for, because this is the thing that we shouldn't forget, is that when we introduce new services, there will be new costs. So you really need to understand the numbers in your business and the costs that are involved in delivering these services, and that should inform what it is that we charge for it. And then obviously we also look at value, etc. from that point of view. Let me just see quickly. Johan added here on YouTube, think about the coaching industry. They have a 70-30 ratio of women to men. The new financial planners is going to be a coach more than a financial planner. Yes, absolutely. I think they're going to be a mush of coaches and psychologists and handholders and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's definitely interesting where everything is going. Then the next big thing is a move away from suitability, because this is something that, and I mentioned this earlier, where you look at, so suitability will be just like, and I also mentioned this in another episode where I said, well, you look at a product and there's features and benefits, and then you look at the client and their needs, and then you go like, oh, there's a match, so this is the right product for you. So this product is suitable. But the problem with a suitable product is it doesn't mean that you're putting the client first. You could just be saying that this product is most suitable because it pays the most commission for me, coincidentally, as an example. And then that's the drive. So I think from that point, we really need to understand what do we mean by if we focus on suitability, because we always said you need to give appropriate. You can never give best advice. You can only give appropriate advice. And again, now if we do a split between advice and we do a split between the product, that conversation goes in a whole new way as well. So yeah, I think we should really think about the suitability kind of thing. What is definitely going to happen is that, particularly overseas, they're talking about fiduciary, and you'll see this. It's so great for me to be working with some advisors where in their contracts, in their service level agreements, in their terms and conditions of engagement, they say that I have a fiduciary duty towards you. And that means that you are personally liable for all the things that you are doing. So I'm treating everything about your planning like it is my own. I take responsibility. So what it also says is that I'm putting you first as the client. Absolutely, categorically. There must be nothing in that to sort of show, something directly opposite to that. And what it also means for me, I don't know where I saw this, but there was something where, and we also have it in our values where we say people over profits. And that's what client centricity means. It must be about the person and the client and making sure that they are okay before we worry. And the funny thing is, and there's lots of people here in the group that will echo that, because I know that we've had that conversation. When you do the right things for the right reason, and you have the right intention, and you really mean to help, wonderful things happen as a part of that. And you do make lots of profit, but it is focusing on putting them first, because you will stand out. You will be unique when you do that. So that's important. Then transparency. I think, we've come a long way in South Africa with transparency from a fee point of view, etc. The kind of things that are now being shown on statements, etc. But I think we still got a long way to go in being fully transparent. And transparency is the thing that's going to set you apart. And transparency is the thing that's going to let you stand out. So that's very important. And I think all of this is going to lead to true trust. I know Anton Swanepoel has written about the trust factor. There's a number of people talking about trust, the trusted advisor, that kind of thing. But, it's all like, let's read this and get some points for ethics. But I just think when you do these things, then trusts are formed. Again, it's like there's a specific outcome you want, but you need to understand what are the actions I need to take. What is the focus that I need to have? What is the place from which I need to come that will generate that trust? And the more trust you have, the more your business is just going to grow. You are the person, you will be a magnet that will be attracting people to you, and the right people for that matter. So those are 6 of the things that I think is going to happen. And then there's also a big thing that I'm seeing, and this I'm seeing in my tax practice, okay? And I'm just thinking that there must be a huge opportunity, if you're not doing this already, but there must be a huge opportunity to reposition yourself as well, because I don't know how many clients have you lost in the last, particularly in the last 2 years, but let's say in the last 5 or 10 years in your business that have immigrated. So they may still be your clients, but they took most of your money, not your money, most of their money offshore. They cashed in their RAs. They cashed in maybe their preservation funds. When they left, they took their pension money, that kind of stuff. So they're still there when they have something small with you, or there is still something in South Africa. They still talk to you. Maybe still you have contact, but there's no real business to be done anymore. Maybe it's from advice. And again, we're giving away that advice for free. So it doesn't mean much for your business. And maybe you hope that one day they'll return to South Africa. But I think that there is a huge opportunity to do cross-border financial planning. I see it in the tax sphere, where we are now helping clients because they may be liable to do things in both countries. And one of the big things is that, I'm just realizing that, oh, well, you don't only need to know South Africa, you also need to know the other country stuff. And that's the same for that client. So imagine, at least I know something about South Africa. Clients tend not to know so much about the things that makes them anxious. So they tend to avoid that. But what they would do then is like, now they go to another country and then they know even less about that country's tax. So suddenly you need someone that can advise you from both. So if you've got an advisor on that side, you've got an advisor in South Africa, now that's great. It could work well together. But if you have somebody that could really do cross-border planning, that understands that other country as well, their tax laws, their financial planning laws, all of the things like we've got here, but you also understand that. So I think this is going to become more and more a thing. And simply because there's a lot more people going to work overseas. I don't know now with COVID, how much work are we going to do from South Africa for foreign countries or for foreign companies, etc. So that's also going to be interesting to see. But there's also this nomadic lifestyle. Particularly younger people love to go travel. It's my dream to start to travel at some point and to work from anywhere in the world. That's why I'm building my business a lot to be online, so that I can still deliver value and still connect with my clients wherever I am in the world. But I'm going there not to go and live there. I'm going there to travel and to experience the world, not for any other reason. So we're coming back. I'm not leaving South Africa. So that's the dream. I'm still like a long way off to start doing that. But that's what's going to happen, So what are you going to do when somebody's working all over the place, or they just work for a foreign company in that thing? So obviously, as I already said, we're also losing clients in the process because of this whole move of people moving to Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Europe, wherever that they are moving, and that's the thing. So I think the opportunity is to specialize in two countries. Okay, so South Africa being one, and then you choose. Let's say Australia. If most of your clients are moving to Australia, you decide to focus on that. You may have to study something in Australia. You may have to be registered there to really be able to offer these things. But I mean, how great would it be? You've got an existing relationship, to be able to do that. Now, I don't really know exactly how feasible this is. This is an idea that I've got where I think that we're going to have to do that. We build up this client base. We want to keep them, and then be able to deliver services in different jurisdictions, then, if you will. So decide, because you can't be a specialist in all the countries, So decide, is it America, is it Canada? So I see a lot of South Africans that have moved to Canada that are now financial planners there that help South Africans who's coming over. So that's a great idea as well. But what if you're the person that can help them with both? And then obviously the UK, Europe, what will you do as well? Obviously, as I said, New Zealand, Australia. So those kind of countries where South Africans tend to go to. Choose one and then specialize in that, or learn as much as you can about that from that point of view, so that we can help our clients better and keep our clients when they move. And then obviously the other option there is like we do in the tax practice. So we do advice and help and guide up to a particular point. And after that, I will refer them to Higu and his team if I can't take it any further. We've just recently helped people get money out of the country that inherited money, etc. So help them in that sense. So those are the kind of things that Higu and them can do, where we don't get involved in that, but we give advice and to say, well, you need to look at this, you need to consider this and this and this, and then from there we refer them on. But anyway, so important. I want to see, there's some comments here, so let me see quickly. Morning, Arun. Bongi says it's a challenge to introduce fees versus commission. How can this be introduced as make clients see value? So, Bongi, I'm always of the opinion there that you can't do what you've been doing and then just decide that you're going to charge fees for it. You've got to look at your value proposition and enhance it or change it or whatever you need to do. That's the first thing. The second thing is that don't look at charging your existing clients fees. Look at new clients. So when you attract new clients, they know from day one, and all your marketing and everything needs to support what it is that you're doing and you're charging fees. What you could also do as an interim thing to see how it goes is to give someone the option to say, listen, well, you can either do this or you can do the fees thing. Or you can just be clear cut and say, listen, for the advice I charge, for the product implementation, there's still commission, but we reduce the commission because we already maybe got paid some amount of money or whatever. There are many different ways that you can go about that. But it's really just to consider what it is that you're doing. Ian says, this is a really good session, Francois, all relevant. Thank you very much, Ian. I appreciate it very much. Arun, currently I'm using the services of an integrative general practitioner. That sounds serious. And he charges 300 Rand per 15 minutes. In other words, he's charging 1,200 Rand an hour. These people get away with charging these kind of fees compared to the kind of work we do. Yes, and that's the thing. And people are willing to pay. It's just that we've taught them wrong for many years, but also our focus has shifted. But we still want to get paid in the same way for things that we now don't even put value on ourselves anymore, possibly. And the problem is that our industry does not work in the same way as lawyers, accountants, and medical practitioners who are guided by set tariffs and rates. We have too much competition within our industry. I want to challenge you on that, Arun. Is that, based on what? Number one, and I know many advisors. I know advisors who started charging fees in the late 90s already. So if one person is doing it, then there's no reason why more people can't do it. It is just that we've gotten into this whole mode of how we market. It starts off with our prospecting. We set the whole direction wrong from that point of view. And also now people are referring to you, if they're already in this groove of how you work, they also, they prep people that they're referring to about how you work and what you do. So we need to change that conversation as well. So I think there's lots that we need to consider from that point of view to really get things going. Alrighty, so let me just see on LinkedIn quickly. Slanganani says that I mentioned last week that clients don't know good or bad advice. The industry advice must start doing consumer education. Let me just see again. The industry advice must start doing. Yeah, but who's the industry? It starts with us. We need to start educating our own clients and say, this is what good advice looks like. This is what's great. If there's a problem, if I look at the platteland and what's happening to the towns there, people are living in that town complaining about the tar roads that's just full of potholes and this and that. But everybody's sitting there looking at things, and now people have started taking action to fix it themselves. And that's what we need to do. The things that we see are wrong, we shouldn't be waiting for the FBI or the FSCA or the companies or anybody. Okay? We should start changing it. Do what we can in our little space where we are and start making a small impact, because that small little ripple becomes something big later on. So we need to start there and then talk about what it is we do and how we do it differently and what we believe. It's about having a philosophy and standing behind that philosophy no matter what. Maybe there could be an opportunity to set yourself up as a second opinion resource. Yep, we've done that as well. That does work. Yvonne, the mindset needs to change. I also believe a lot of these things is a mindset thing. The pain of changing is just not in. It's not enough to stay where we are. The pain of changing is still more than the pain of staying the same. So exactly, it's a mindset thing to say, well, we need to do this. And also people don't know where to start. People don't know how to go through the process. We've read a lot of stuff. We've attended a lot of workshops. People offer year-long courses on these things, but still we're not taking action because still we're so afraid that we're going to make a mistake. But you just need to start. That's the main thing. The industry hasn't accepted it as yet, and product providers are not helping by hanging on to the status quo of AUM fee percentage charges enabled. Yes, we can have a whole conversation the whole day. Ronnie says number 5 again. He got sidetracked, Ronnie. No, it was about major shifts. So that's going to take me a while to go through that again. Sorry, so I don't have time right now, but we were talking about major shifts that's going to happen. Particularly in terms of value, price, and away from the AUM model so that there's alignment between the value and the services you offer and how you get paid for it. Johan Vosloo, I can attest that cross-border planning is challenging, especially when you're in a country that's not one of the usual suspects. Yes, exactly. Let me see. Thank you. Good session. Is there any template for a reasonable fee structure we can look at? I'm going to have a session particularly about fees and the different models and that next week. So this week is chock-a-block. So I can't do it this week, but it is also on the list for next week. Surieta, so I'll definitely be sharing that. Awesomeness. Guys, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Ian says, educated or informed clients are often seen as difficult, but the questions they then ask are often the correct ones. And also, I don't know, in my opinion and my experience, they are so much more engaged in the process. They feel part of it. It's their plan. It's not your plan for them. It's their own plan. All you did was guide them to the answers that they maybe already had inside of them, and then you get buy-in and commitment. But you can't have a decent discussion if they don't have enough knowledge about this. And I'm still going to talk about like how can you do that, because often these things take so much time that people don't. That's why we don't do it, because you need to spend an hour, and then you see them once a year. It doesn't really help. How can we get them enough information that you still help them? They still feel like it's you educating and helping and doing that. But how can you go about that? So I'll definitely chat about that. Guys, thank you very much. Then tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. back here with Wessel Oosthuizen. I'm really looking forward to that, Wessel. Really thank you for agreeing to be on the show. I appreciate it. It was actually just a personal conversation that ended up in me asking for you to be here. So thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. sharp here on YouTube and on LinkedIn. Thank you so much and have a fantastic day. And let this week count, Make it count.